So welcome back. Where we left off in our last video is I had to cut some angle pieces like this to go on the root rib on the inboard of the wing. I went ahead and glued this in. Just wanted to make sure what I was trying to plan out worked before I told you I was going to did something different. Anyway, this root rib is set at an angle to set up the dihedral that's going to be in this wing. And what I did was I cut this inboard piece out of 1/4 inch ply that's going to fit in there like that. But I cut 2 jigs to put on the outside just to make sure I got everything lined up and that I got the angle correct. And then I went ahead and I tacked in this inboard, checked it again, and then did a final glue on it. I'm going to glue this in with thick CA, and then once that's glued in, that's going to set up where your second rib goes, because it goes right up against that, and it's not lining up where it shows on the plan, but in the instructions it says that this piece is going to determine where this rib goes. And I'm not really worried about it being off that much, being off a little bit. This is all going to be sheeted. There's going to be fiberglass over it, and it'll be fine. Anyway, I'm going to do that, and then I think we'll be able to, after that, move on with the spars. But once I get this done, I'll come back and see you guys, and we'll continue on with the wing. Well, as you can see below, we've got the second rib glued in. We've got that center web in. I'm going to leave this all jigged up for right now because thank goodness I looked at the instructions and I've gone through those more. I had missed where there's going to be webbing, balsa, 1/8 balsa webbing between each of these ribs, except for the 2 ribs on the outer bay of the wing. So I'm going to have to make some webs out of 1/8 inch balsa and get those installed. I'm just going to cut them with my Zona saw, and the thing to remember when you're doing webs is that you want vertical grain in the web. You want, if the wing, something pulls on the wing, you want it to pull against the grain. You don't want the grains running horizontal, because then it'll just pull the grain apart. But all this does is strengthen the wing and make it a little bit more rigid. You definitely don't want your wing to be flexing and have your grain running horizontal and you're just tearing up your webbing. Anyway, I'm going to cut these out, and I'm going to get those glued in, and then we'll be back. Okay, we got all of our shear webs in. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use tight bond to put the main spar and the rear main spar in. I don't think I can do this all in one shot with thick CA, so I want to be able to take my time. Also, there's just a little bitty lift in the wing. I want to be able to weight it down, get that tight bond in, get it to set up, and then make sure that this is flat. Use that top spar and that tight bond to flatten this wing up, and then I'll get back with you guys. Well, it's the next day. My tight bond is dried, or at least it's cured enough for me to take all the weights that I had to put on to get the bow out. I've gone ahead, it called for a shaped plywood piece to go down here between these 2 ribs for support when the wing bolts go through. Shaping plywood without proper tools is a chore. So I found some really hard balsa, and I had to sandwich 2 pieces together and make a balsa wood block. And what I'll do is what I'm used to doing for this particular piece is that once we drill our hole for the wing bolt, we'll go back and really soak the inside of that hole with thin CA and let that thin CA wick out through the wood and harden it, and it's going to be fine. It's not going to crush or anything like that. I did use my Stanley plane. This is I believe this is a 12-101 plane. It's just a little hobby plane. These things, I think they cost like $10 and they last forever. They really make quick work of shaping up balsa and stuff like that. I've shaped it up to where it's almost even with the top of the wing ribs, and I'll come back and just barely sand that, just lightly sand that to get it all nice and level. you kind of start at the top, and the nice thing about this laser cut wood is you have a little bit of go by as you start to see the laser burns start to go away. Well, then you just move on down, and you know that you're level without having to really whack up your wing ribs. But I'm going to go ahead and I put this in with some thick CA, and I'm going to let this set for a little while, especially with a little weight on it. And once I think that that's set long enough, I'll come back and we'll carrying on. So I've got the wing back under weights, and I think I'm going to use thin CA just to speed this up, even though these are spruce spars up here. I've got the 3 top, and there isn't any spars like this on the bottom, it's just on the top. I've got these 3 down, and because I'm working with something that runs the entire length of the wing, I definitely want to keep this underweight, even though these are tiny spars compared to what we've got for the main and the rear spars. They can induce a warp. I've seen it happen, but I've tried some thin CA on a little test piece, and I think it's going to work out fine for these small spars. I've used thick and tight bond for the rest of the spars, so I believe that's going to work out fine. And I'm going to glue each individual while it's underweight, let those set, then move to the next one and just work my way down the wing. We'll come back, and I think after that we'll be putting the leading edge in, which I think is going to go pretty quick, but it's something else that needs to be done under weights. Anything that runs the length of the wings, I just do under weights. You can get warps out of wings. You know, some people will take water and soak the wood and put them under weights. I find that Windex or something, an ammonia cleaner that's got as much ammonia as possible that you can get, that you can just spray on lightly, works better than just water alone. The ammonia in there kind of just softens up the fibers in the wood and will let it lay down flat, and then when it dries out, you really don't lose any strength or anything like that. Anywho, we're going to get these 3 forward spars glued in, and then we'll be back to move on to the next thing. Alright, so I'm back. All these spars are glued in really good. Happy with how those turned out. Probably won't be that much longer on this, or at least this side. The step that we're at now is we're going to take this 1/2 inch balsa square and glue this in for our leading edge. Again, I'm going to do this I'm just showing how I'm going to glue this in. I'm using thin CA, this balsa to balsa. I'm going to glue this in like that. I'm going to keep it under weights because, like I said, anytime you're doing anything that's going to be running the whole length of the wing half, it's just better to do that to make sure that you don't introduce any bow to it or anything like that. I really like this method of doing a leading edge instead of having just a big old chunk of square balsa you glue to the front of the wing and then spend a lot of time shaping. Doing it this way, you've already got most of the shape built into it, and it's going to be great. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and let it dry, and we'll move on to, sorry, I should know what the next step is. I think it's going to be putting this sheeting on the back because I believe it tells me after I get this done that we're going to take this off the board and true up the sheeting on the back and glue the trailing edge to it. Anyway, I'm going to do that, get back with you when I'm done. Well, hopefully you guys can hear me over the rain. It's raining here now. Unfortunately, I have to have my garage door open or I'd be absolutely underwater in sweat. I've taken my balsa stripper and cut another trailing edge sheeting piece. Normally I would like to do this with like tight bond, but Chris is whooping my butt speed-wise on his build of the Cloud Dancer, so I need to play catch-up. I was trying to think of ways of maybe getting my thick CA to set slower And then I was just like, I'm just going to mix together some 5-minute epoxy and use it and just be done with it. That'll give me enough time to get the glue down, get this on, get weights back here on these, and go from there. Once we get that on, I think the next step is to actually remove this from the building board and true up the trailing edge back here, get it all nice and flat with our long Dubro sander right there, and then put it back on the board, and we'll glue our trailing edge piece on that's going to take all the hinges and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and epoxy this down, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about this next step. So our 5-minute epoxy back here on the trailing edge sheeting is set, and we removed it from the board. Got some little places where I got some wax paper stuck to it, but that's something that'll work its way out as we go along. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the ends, especially down here on this end. I've got so much hanging over. I'm just going to clean all this up with a Zona saw and get this all close to being ready to be sanded. But the next actual step in the book is to true up this edge so we can glue our balsa trailing edge to this, and we just use our long Dubro sanding block and just take it down to the tips of the ribs, and then we can glue our trailing edge on. But I'm going to take some time to clean this up and glue that trailing edge on, which we'll put it back on the board for that, of course, and weight it down, because it does have a little, I mean, it's strong, but it's still kind of flexible. We'll glue that on and get back with y'all. Alright, so I've got it all cleaned up. Well, not cleaned up, I haven't really sanded the ends or anything like that, just chopped off. I did sand the trailing edge square just to find out that I need a 1/4 inch by 5/16 balsa, and I don't have any. Now I could make some with my balsa stripper, but I really don't want to do that, not at this point. So I've gone ahead and ordered the balsa I need. Of course, the only company that has 1/4 inch by 5/16 balsa that I could find was National Balsa, and that requires a minimum order, so I ordered some other stuff to kind of fill in the gaps. I'm going to go ahead and work on the other side. It's going to go together just like this side, and hopefully have both of those ready when the balsa shows up. But I'm going to end this video here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Chris's Cloud Dancer build on Perky Plains, and have a blessed one, and have a safe week. Happy 4th of July to everybody.